All right, welcome to another edition of Fansview Fridays. Fansview Fridays is a weekly stream where we talk about anime convention past. We'll be going through Kevin Lillard's old anime convention reports on Fansview. If this is your first time tuning into Fansview Fridays, Kevin Lillard, the late Kevin Lillard, created a website called Fansview to showcase conventions he was traveling to. This site was active in the late 90s and into the 2000s. This is a time capsule of anime fandom history in North America. And a lot of this is saved by webarchive.org. Fansview, the website's no longer available online. So this is our way to preserve Fansview and a piece of anime fandom history that we don't want to get lost. And with that said, we're going to travel to Iowa for Anime Iowa 2000, which took place on August 25th to the 27th over in Cedar Rapids. Viz producer Toshi Yoshida and artist Shinpei Ito traveled to America's heartland. All right, let's check out what happened on Friday. Okay, some customers slipped into downtown Cedar Rapids on Friday afternoon. Alright, let's take a look at what were some of the popular fandoms of the time. I Spy looks like a Noriko from Fushigi Yugi. Oh hey, we also have Merle from Vision of Escaflowne. Bill Dandy from Oh My Goddess Duo. Oh, check out that vintage camera over there. It's funny because I was at Anime Expo last weekend and I had my digital camera with me, and then there was this person from Gen Z. It looked like a younger person from Gen Z. They were looking at my camera and they were like, oh my god, I love this because it's so Y2K. I'm like, yeah, my camera is very vintage. So vintage, I got it 5 years ago off Amazon. I tend to prefer taking digital cameras with me to conventions, so I don't run out of battery so fast with my iPhone. Yeah, check out this old merch here. Check out these old figures. It looks like we only got 5 pages of cosplay here. And also check out this old advert for a US anime. Shitajiki Lami. I'm not sure what Lami is. If anyone in the comments can tell me what a Lami is, that would be awesome. Dojinshi, yeah, I know what Dojinshi is. Clear files are kind of more or less still a thing, but they're not as huge as they were like back in the day. Like I own like a couple of Spy Family and My Hero Academia clear files. In fact, I even got a free Final Fantasy 14 clear file at Anime Expo. I mean, they're not as just huge as they were because I normally use my clear files to store paper, and because everything is so digital, like there's like a rare need for clear files in people's homes. Posters, I got a lot of that, and postcards. Okay, let's just kind of scroll along here. All right, let's also check out what else is going down on Friday. We'll glance at the surroundings for this convention. Yeah, that's a big Pokeball behind the Anime IO registration desk. Each year, the convention creates a paper anime symbol to be smashed to bits after the cosplay. Last year, Pikachu. This year, the Pokeball. Here's customer Rob, famous for his Racer X portrayal, leading what looked like to be a large Michigan contingent in Cedar Rapids, assuming they were able to get off work. It's not just the 4 seasons, it's the 5 seasons. Cedar Rapids has a nice downtown basketball arena and convention center near the banks of Cedar River, and that's where the convention moved in 2001. You know you're in small town surroundings when you look out your hotel window and see a freight train moving by. Downtown train tracks are the sign of progress in the Midwest, and generations of people got used to the train's a wide berth. The train came from the grain elevator 1 block north of the convention. The building on the left of the convention center, and the highway in the middle is the I-380. The grain elevator in the back is the Quaker Oats cereal mill, famed as one of the nation's largest. Slipping from the southwest from Wisconsin was costume fan Kate Robards. who miss Otakon but arrive at Anime Iowa to tell everyone she's in fine shape and getting ready for an art gallery job. And sit in at the opening ceremonies. New faces at Anime Iowa started with Toshi Yoshida, the Viz video producer who had never traveled to Iowa before and joked he didn't know where Cedar Rapids was. Yoshida said that the Friday event was the fastest opening ceremony he'd attended. Also an Iowa newcomer was Shinpei Ito, whose Miyaka and Miyo characters from Hyper Dolls adorned the fans' 3-day badges for the conventions. Ito was expected to talk about his new projects during the weekend. More familiar to Iowa fans was the Indiana artist Robert DeJesus, who has attended all the Anime Iowa conventions. Before the opening ceremonies, DeJesus already had drawn his first commissions in the dealer's room. Charles Peel spent the afternoon scrambling with the volunteers to set up the main events room, and then mentioned the ceremony that Anime Iowa had around the same number of fans register in advance, 427, as the attended convention in 1999. Steve Bennett of Studio Iron Cat greeted the fans and noted that neither of his parents would be on hand. His father had been ill and his mother had stayed at home in Virginia to care for him. Kevin Bennett, Steve's brother, traveled ahead to Hawaii for his wedding to Shachiko Uchida, scheduled for a couple days after the convention. "We're going to be larger than we've ever been," said Conchair Noel Burns. "We can't help that." The convention officials noted that they plan to move back to the Collins Plaza Hotel in the north end of Cedar Rapids for 2001. Studio Iron Cat had new projects and colors. Here's one of the big changes ahead of Studio Iron Cat, courtesy of Kintaro Oe, or at least the man who played his voice on TV. Doug Smith, the graphics designer who had drafted into the acting duty for Golden Boy series when he worked for ADV Films in Texas, has moved to Virginia to work for Iron Cat and will design the publisher's covers. At the left is the first release of the Futaka Bagun changed graphic novel from Iron Cat, and on the right is a new version designed by Smith from Hiroshi Aro's original artwork. Another name familiar to fans is going to be working with Iron Cat. After years of talking about it, Robert DeJesus is finally going to create something for Iron Cat. DeJesus has spent recent years making cover art for magazines and has created several portfolios, but he hasn't made a huge output of comics art until the upcoming Iron Cat project. No one is certain of what the project of something is going to be. It might be a parody of anime conventions, or it might be something like a comic market style doujinshi with fan art mix among whatever DeJesus and Bennett create. But the most intriguing announcement from Steve Bennett of Iron Cat was that his company is going to publish translated manga for 2 U.S. anime importers. Iron Cat will handle the manga of anime titles released by those companies. One company is ADV Films. Bennett said that on Friday at Anime Iowa, and the other company won't be announced until the contract is completed. Also, the titles to be published haven't been determined yet. With our quality and our work and our dedication, we'll put it out, said Bennett. Iron Cat still plans to revise previously published books with a new cover art and improved translation, said Bennett. Among these revisions will be the O Genki Clinic adult title. There are still a few things we'll have to be careful about that are permissible in Japan, he said, but the new O Genki translation will be closer to the original Japanese than the first edition from Iron Cat. Bennett also noted the release of Vampire Princess Yui graphic novel. What conspiracy was launched on Friday night? Oh boy. In the month of July 2000, certain agents learned that individual identified as Toshifumi Yoshida, known to frequent San Francisco and Vancouver, and been born on 25 August 1967. Agents planned to investigate this allegation when said Yoshida was located in Cedar Rapids, Iowa on the 25th of August 2000. Surveillance was established on the 11th floor hotel room. Subject Yoshida was lured into a room on standard investigation, promptly laid by investigative staff, and was given a complete search. However, subject briefly broke away from the investigative staff. and rushed to a nearby bar where he tried to bribe members of staff with formulas for classified alcoholic mixtures. Subject Yoshida then distributed said mixtures to staff and was in the process of escaping before he was forced to reveal the hidden source of said mixtures located in an ordinary wall clock. Subject Yoshida was given a full and complete confession to a special agent in charge, admitting he was 33 years old and, for the last 7 years, had been a known operative for the clandestine organization known as Fizz. Alright, I guess that was one way to celebrate a birthday. White Lightning searches for success. Its name evokes the image of North Carolina moonshine, still a tradition that hasn't ended, by the way, but White Lightning Productions is located hundreds of miles away in East Texas. Chris Overstreet pumps out this product sold by the company and traveled to Cedar Rapids to tell fans about his plans for the future. White Lightning has a line of unabashedly adult comics and with titles like Milkmaid and Bootleg. There are a lot of breast fiends in this world. Thank God, because I need the money, joked Overstreet. His comments went against one of the cliches of adult comics. People actually do care about the stories and not just the pictures. It's surprising the number of people who read our comics and pay attention to the plot, he said, mentioning the number of letters White Lightning received when 2 of the Milkmaid's pages were accidentally reversed. Overstreet spent a lot of time describing the card games he's developing for White Lightning, based on the situations seen in popular anime. There's one game where male characters try to create the ideal harem of females, and another game where females attempt to collect males. The first game, titled Henshin, needs only its artwork to be ready to go, Overstreet said. He's been testing the game for 2 years. White Lightning also assembles and sells the art portfolios that are so popular at an anime convention. They had a dozen portfolios at Project Acon in June. Overstreet hopes to recruit fan-favorite artists and some creators of furry art for White Lightning's upcoming portfolios, and his big hope is to make a big deal to bring some leading Japanese adult manga to North America in translated form. Costumers traveled through Saturday morning showers to the convention. Okay, let's take a look at fandom in the 2000s. This is summer of 2000. Where were you in the summer of 2000? Let us know in the comments. I was getting ready for my junior year of high school. Oh, there's a Vash. A friend and I were talking about, like, it's always one Vash carrying around a box of donuts. I forgot whether or not in Stampede, that Vash is canonical to being a donut enthusiast. But it would be nice to, like, see, like, a Vash, a Stampede cosplayer just kind of come in with a Krispy Kreme box. Another group of costumers arrived on Saturday afternoon. Alright, let's take a look at fandom back in the day. There's a Tuxedo Mask, Mario, Elephant Armor, and Captain Global. Looks like they will use like an arena space for the vendor hall. Got Vampire Princess Mew. Oh, we have Sakura. I'm actually working on that cosplay as we speak. We have Arashi from X 1999. Spectators are treated to an intense martial arts demonstration. While the Judokai School of Martial Arts in America is based in Maine and has been a training center in North Carolina, its roots come from generations of tradition from Japan. Leon Craig brought 2 of his students from the Iowa City dojo to show anime Iowa fans what years of training and discipline can do. He emphasized that there's nothing simple, quick, or easy about the techniques taught in his school, and that anyone who wants to learn has to be completely serious and dedicated before they take the first step. Okay, we've got a couple photos here. We also have a second page of photos. Oh, traveling all the way from Maine. There is a representative of the Right Stuff on hand to talk about his unique job. Can you imagine being paid for a job of mostly watching anime all day, then writing a short reviews about the shows? Mark Ray is a super lucky person who has a job for the Right Stuff, Iowa's gift to anime fandom. If you ever read the company's catalogs, you'll see the show listings are accompanied by short descriptions. Ray writes some of those descriptions, assisting Jeff Thompson with the job. So Ray has watched many of the shows that the company sells in the catalog, including the shows that the Right Stuff does not produce. Life at a video company isn't all about producing and shipping videos. Ray noted that the Right Stuff is handling the distribution of a collectible Sailor Moon watch for another company. The free giveaway has ballooned to the point the Right Stuff is getting tens of thousands of watches from the Chinese manufacturer of the timepieces, just another pile of items to add to the company's Iowa warehouse. They've already had to appropriate another company's space in that building. There's not much fresh on the release schedule for Kari Kano, aka His and Her Circumstances, only to note that it's going to take a long time to produce because of the large amount of Japanese text on screen, around 83 titles in the first issue alone. Ray said, because Right Stuff has so many titles on their list, Ray hears a lot of stuff about other companies' release plans, such as the talk of the Evangelion movies finally will be released to US home video in February or March of 2001. Fanfiction discussion erupted onto the scene. It's a powerful compulsion, this need to create your own stories using the characters from the anime series. Each anime convention is an opportunity for this fanfiction brotherhood, linked by email, Usenet, and websites to gather and talk about their composing techniques. At Anime Iowa, love to write Greg Sanborn, who writes Ranma stories, and the Fox Squadron Robotech stories. Jamie Bateman, the Zen, who writes Ranma fanfiction. Jean Hege, whose specialty is the original Bubblegum Crisis situations, and Tina Shawn, known as Ravenfire, who creates Gundam Wing stories. Chris Overstreet and Brian Neef arrive a little later in the program. And Neef said that fanfiction has to show some common sense to go along with the drama and the humor. At the same time, he feels that fan stories match the spirit of the original. If I apply real-world psychiatry to Ramon's relationships, there would be no story, he said. Shaw said, don't just throw something out there just to throw something out there, because you'll get nailed, referring to the often tough cadre of online critics who read fanfic through the Usenet and the web. The wrong details throw purist readers, and I'm one of them. I look for errors then at the story. Sanborn thinks the best anime fanfiction stories start and stay in Japan because that's a place where original situations were born. To take them out of that environment, you lose a lot of what those stories are about, he said. For a Westerner to stage a story in Japan takes attention to detail, he said, and means research to get the details right and avoid embarrassment. The Japanese are convinced there is absolutely no way Americans will ever understand their culture. You must make an effort to understand, he said. A good place to start that understanding is The Anime Companion by Giles Portress, a book recommended by Sanborn and the rest of his panelists. I also agree too. I also recommend The Anime Companion by Giles. I'm a little bit biased because I consider Giles as one of my mentors in the community. So yeah, highly recommend. This video looked at Ranma and beyond. Viz Video, the home video production arm of Viz Communications, has seen the relative disappointment of Maison Koku and the surprise success of Pokemon. Yet the company's bread and butter continues to be Ranma 1/2, which continues to roll along, much like Cedar River flows through downtown Cedar Rapids. Where producer Toshio Yoshida talked about the company's plans, there's a lot more Ranma on the way, which will be released in 2001 after Yoshida gets to Vancouver and produces the shows. Ranma 1/2 has been around for so long and ranks the voice talent in the British Columbia have been so changeable that many of the cast in the original Ranma production has changed. Yoshida told the fascinating tale of how the original Nobiki actor left to pursue a career as a pilot. Viz held a casting call for the new Nobiki, and the most convincing job was done by the sister of the original actor, who was nearly an exact match. Yoshida joked that he considered not changing the credit line just to see if anyone would notice. The idea of Ranma titles that are parodies of movie titles came from Satoto Fuji of Viz, by the way. So why does Ranma 1/2 remain so popular among anime buyers? You tell me why. I'd like to know how so we can find another show like it, Yoshida's joked. He observed that Ranma is a comedy, a comic book. It's also a video game, a combination that appeals to young video buyers. Pokemon has much of the same combination. While Pokemon isn't the super hot show in 2000 that was in 1999, it's still Viz's best-selling product line. Pokemon is also a current TV show and a Viz comic, along with Dragon Ball Z. Tenchi Muyo also has become a TV show that will help sales of Viz's Tenchi comic. It's too early to tell, Yoshida said. Inuyasha fans are going to have to wait a little longer to find if Viz will get the North American rights to the Inuyasha series that hits the air in Japan in October. Yoshida still expects Viz's connections to Rumiko Takahashi and her Japanese publisher will pay off, but it's too early to tell. In the meantime, you can expect the Viz release of Ayashi no Theris to start in the spring of summer 2001, he said. Shinpei Ito spent the afternoon drawing and talking. Studio Iron Cat promised to keep the artist Shinpei Ito busy during the weekend at Anime Iowa, and Hyperdolls creator thrived on the small but friendly event. He spent time in the dealer's room on Saturday signing everything that was presented at him, whether it be t-shirts or copies of his manga. Ito then went to the main programming ballroom, where he spoke about his newest project, a romantic comedy and a police story that run every couple of months in Japanese publications. Will there be more Hyperdolls? Not really, Ito answered, noting that some of the original series never was published in Japan because the publisher went out of business. However, American fans might be able to see some of his Moldiver work through Iron Cat, he said. Fans have been curious to learn that how Hyperdolls made the transition from manga to anime. Ito said he didn't learn about that decision until after it was made, when Pioneer and the manga publisher told him. I wasn't given a choice. It was a good decision to be made for you, Ito said. He made plenty of changes in the manga for its animation, especially taking out the small parody bits that he enjoys putting into his tales. Those small inside jokes and asides are hard to translate into English, Ito noted, because they refer to obscure Japanese jokes and shows. Ito loved Japanese sci-fi TV and movies where he was growing up, one of the reasons he became an artist. Ito has accumulated a large collection of characters in the series he's created. Will he ever follow the pattern of other artists and create an all-star manga with all those characters? It's a little bit too soon for that, he replied. Costumers did the impossible in 2 hours. Anime costumers gathered a couple of times on Anime Iowa Saturday. Catherine, a fan of this site who wore an El Hazard costume, showed pictures from the site to show the most elaborate costumes of the year. People exchanged suggestions on how to achieve some of the fanciest and most complicated costuming effects. While those detailed costumes take weeks of work to complete, can a costume be created in 2 hours? Sure, replied costumer Elizabeth Sloan, who pulled out her scissors, sewing machine, measuring tape, and board and went to work. The trick for beginning costumers is to choose something simple, and her choice was a short kimono-style shirt worn by Tenchi Misaki in the Tenchi Muyo series when the character is at home. Kimonos are made out of squares and rectangles. Can you cut out a rectangle? Said Sloan. She took 2 sections of cloth, one pale blue and one white, and asked volunteers from the audience. One woman was chosen by drawing the card with a Tenchi picture with Tuxedo Matt's top hats. The woman was measured for the costume pattern to make sure it fit the costumer and the same as it fitted the animated Tenchi. The sleeves were the size to fall halfway down the arms. The main pattern was cut from a blue cloth, and the cuffs of the sleeves were added from the white cloth. The finished project was ready after a short time given to the costumer, who wore it around and took wore around the convention during the afternoon. One shortcut was taken is that the black stripe on the Tenchi original was painted on the costume where it might have been a separate strip of cloth. That's actually a pretty neat idea, like costume in like an hour. The Myth and West's most enthusiastic costumers were on hand for the Saturday night costume contest. Alright, let's see what the costume contest was all about. Okay, we've got Mario just letting it loose. We got Van from Escaflowne. Not quite sure what's going on here. I want to say that's Vishugi Yugi. That's giving Yui vibes. And we also have Vash. Hey, wait for these. Oh no, they're not loading. Okay, we've got Misato and some person here. Not sure. A Rama character doing martial arts of sorts. Check out these wigs from back in the day. This is what we had to work with, people. We have Utena. We have Juri. Now imagine these bright neon wigs on like tan skin. Not gonna work. At least for me it didn't work. Okay. Yeah, we got a lot of Fushigi Yugi going on. I like that. I was very close to like, wait, is this from Bleach? Bleach didn't come out until like... Okay, we got Arashi from X over here. And while this is loading, I'm just going to sip on some tea. Got Sailor Jupiter over there. Okay, we got more. Okay, we got Sakura Kinomoto. Okay, just scrolling through here. Alright, we got Vincent. Yeah, just scrolling through. Okay. Alright, let's look at the list of winners. Let's look at the winner's circle here. So it looks like the judges had a tough time selecting. Oh, looks like for Best in Show, we got a Final Fantasy 8 group here. This looks amazing. I love that they got the Cactuar too. First runner-up, not sure what this is from, but I'm just going to call it Not Bleach. And we also got the Utena duo here. Yeah, I really admired the wig work for the time. Shinpei Ito's award. Toshi Yoshida's award. Remember back in the day when guests of honor used to give out like prizes? And Steve Bennett's award. And with that said, let's go into Sunday. This looks like it's going to be a relatively short stream tonight. Oh, hey, here's a second look at the people who went on stage for the Saturday night cosplay. So just more photos that just didn't seem to make the final cut. Yeah, I really like that jury. Oh, here's more of those Final Fantasy folks. Sunday, more cosplay. Got El Hazard up there. Aw, Team Rocket. We also have Suzaku no Miko. Part of me wants to bust out my Miyaka cosplay again for the next con I go to. Okay, just scrolling down. Oh, I love the Gundam Wing Boys. Got a couple of duos on stage. Oh, check out the elaborate costumes here. So pretty, I love it. Alright, looks like those photos aren't showing up. Okay, it's going to be a relatively short take on Anime Iowa. So, Anime Iowa gently faded on Sunday. So, what were some of the Sunday happenings? Anime Iowa made a gentle, relaxed exit on Sunday with a few quiet panel discussions. Toshi Yoshida, Viz Video, started the day by talking to fans about the life of a producer and the process of dubbing anime into English. Then he produced some Ranma 1/2 scripts, passed them out to the audience, and invited them to take part in a run through of the script, radio play style. He had been in that real recording studio. Actors would have been recording the lines to the tones of the well-known triple cueing beeps. One of the artistic high points of Anime Iowa was a big papier-mâché Pokeball that was broken pinata style on Saturday night. Costumer Linda told a panel how she spent 3 weeks making the Pokeball, starting with an inflated balloon over which were applied strips of newspaper dipped into flour paste. The color tissue was cut into crepe strips and glued into the newspaper base to give the Pokeball pinata its characteristic black, red, and white colors. Hey, welcome to the last day of Anime Iowa, Azure Mage. Let's enjoy Sunday of Anime Iowa together. But the catch is, it's 2000. August 2000 to be specific. A different sort of art lesson came from artist Robert DeJesus, who instructed fans on details needed to make a manga-style drawing. The shapes of heads and eyes are the most important parts of manga and anime faces, and DeJesus took fans through the right ways to create those shapes. There was also talk of the manga artist's secret. The sheets of screen tone used to give texture to the drawings. Finally, Yoshida was joined by former student Iron Cat editor Kate Robards, and they spoke to fans how they got into the American branch of the anime and manga industries. As in most walks of life, you need to know the right people to get ahead, they said. So it's best practice to make contacts with the right people in the industries, and conventions are good places to make those contacts. The jobs you'll find aren't easy and take a lot of work, but they're great fun and you get paid for something most people might do for free. The author has some relaxed comments from the small town event. Alright, to go from the largest conventions in North America to one of the smallest, from a harbor town to a railroad city, from flying 41,000 feet to driving in between the grain silos. This was a contrast between the early August trip to Otakon in Baltimore and the late August trek to Anime, Iowa in Cedar Rapids. The only thing these towns have in common is their link to water. The Inner Harbor is in the heart of Baltimore, and the Cedar River flows through downtown Cedar Rapids. In Iowa, the City Hall and County Courthouse stand on an island in the middle of a river. Cedar Rapids is the model of a small Midwestern town, clean, neat, with an empty downtown on Sundays. Stroll down the streets and you'd think the anime world would make no inroads in a city like this, but stop in the Taco Bell 2 blocks west of the Crown Plaza Hotel and you spot a Digimon display inside and you understand. The message was reinforced by a group of children sitting on the floor of the dealer's room trading Pokemon cards on Sunday afternoon. After Otakon, the second largest anime convention in history, the author noted a lot of online messages from fans who said they would rather go to a smaller convention. In previous years, Anime Iowa was a small event, but did it stay small in 2000? Yes, it did, but it wasn't as small as it was in previous years. The facility was larger, and the attendance grew from around 400 in 1999 to 700 in 2000, but there was still plenty of space to stretch out and relax. Those who complained it was hard to find friends at Otakon might have had the same complaint about Anime Iowa because the convention covered so much space from the main floor and the ballroom of the Five Seasons Convention Center to rooms on 3 floors of the Crown Plaza. Still, Anime Iowa stayed small and friendly and relaxing. After rushing through the big events since May, it was unique to be at an event where it was made sense to just hang out as to dash from panel to panel. On Sunday, the convention was easygoing, pleasant stroll through the halls. Over the weekend, the noisiest event at the hotel and convention center complex was a wedding party. The music was so loud that it nearly overpowered the sound for the Saturday night cosplay. That led to an unintentional joke when the wedding party DJ played The Stripper, so loud that it seemed like the music for a female costumer who was walking on the stage at the same time. The second loudest noise of the weekend came from the motorcyclists who made the endless nighttime laps around the hotel. The third loudest was a bunch of kids playing in the hotel pool, which was next door to the room where people were discussing how to build pinatas. People certainly had fun. The author's hotel room happened to be across from the hall from one of the convention's video rooms. There was delighted laughter from that room at all hours of the day and the night, from the author's Friday arrival until the last moments of the convention on Sunday afternoon. Some of the loudest laughs were for a showing of the Ranma 1/2 episode, showing that series is a long way from being out of fashion in the heartland. And there was one great costuming irony. One female costumer was told that her outfit was too revealing, so she put it on a man instead, and women were squealing about how cute the man was in that costume. In 2001, the convention moves a few miles north to the Collins Plaza Hotel, where Anime Iowa was held in 1999. So why did this page go to Anime Iowa instead of the Canadian National Anime Expo held in Toronto the same weekend? The Midwest trip costs less than the Canadian trip, that's why. The author doesn't have an unlimited budget, contributions appreciated, and less expensive trip helps stretch the budget and gives the author a chance to pay some real-world bills. Of course, it would cost nothing to stay home, but that would be wrong. All right, if you like the content that we have here, donate to our Ko-Fi. You can see our Ko-Fi link in our description here in our description. Your donations would definitely help us continue doing conventions and so forth. In addition to that, if you also want to support us and if you like this era of anime conventions, I do have a book out called The Fangirl Diaries. The Fangirl Diaries is about the intersection of girlhood and anime fandom in the late 90s and early 2000s. So I highly recommend, if you love this era, to check out my book, The Fangirl Diaries. In addition to that, you can also buy it online. More information in the description if you would like to know where to buy your copy of the Fangirl Diaries. Also, in addition to that, my cat recently had a life-saving surgery. Information in the description if you want to learn more about his GoFundMe. In addition to that, if you subscribe to our channel, whatever subscriptions I can get, that money will go towards Nico's vet bills. In addition to that, when you're a subscriber, you also get some exclusive Nico emoticons. So let me just throw some emoticons in the chat so you can kind of get an idea of what Nico icons you can have. And these are cute. These are made by my friend Komi. So great incentive if you want to be a subscriber. And subscriptions cost like about $5 a month. And we'll love it if you can just help support our channel and also support my cat, because Nico is also my emotional support animal and he is pretty much my first son. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Fansview Fridays. Next week, we'll still be on at our same time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we're going to head over to Anime Weekend Atlanta. And with that said, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for visiting our virtual cottage here. Tomorrow, we'll be going live to talk about Anime Expo 2025. And with that said, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you real soon.